candidates in a forum not organized by the party. This one, hosted by the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, drew a crowd of about 100 last evening. Rob, we'll start with you on this one. Did the candidates rise to the occasion, make it a worthwhile exercise?
It's really tough to say because I don't know if the people going are undecided kind of voters looking to see who they're going to support, or whether, you know, these are already supporters of each candidate just there to back their guy and cheer him on, and whether there was anything that would sway anybody's opinion. I mean, Jim Prentice was a little bit rattled, I think, when he talked about needing the super board back, needing more managers for healthcare, and he kind of got jeered a bit, heckled a bit from the crowd. But is that enough to switch people's minds or push people in the direction of another candidate? At this point, I think it's as much about the perception of who's ahead as it is what it is they stand for. And I think there is still that sense that, look, Jim Prentice is the guy. This is still more or less, I think, a coronation. And so for Prentice, it's just about kind of coasting to victory here. It was almost surprising to see him there last night because he's got very little to gain, but I don't think it changed a whole lot.
Robert, is this Prentice coasting to victory in the home stretch? Because it is, the race is in home stretch.
Absolutely. I watched the debate, and what came out from my perspective is that Jim Prentice basically didn't say or do anything to hurt his campaign. I thought McIver and Lukaszuk were the more animated candidates. They were really trying to engage Albertans in their attempt in terms of putting together their vision for the province. So nothing really changed my perspective of the campaign. I think it's still Jim's to lose.
Janet, what about the issues? Health Services Board, immigration, post-secondary funding. Are these the issues that Albertans want to hear, especially those who will actually make the decision as to who the next premier is?
Sure. Well, in the debate, the candidates agreed on almost everything. There was only two disagreements, and one was over the structure of Alberta Health Services. Jim Prentice is talking about putting together a sort of an elite board of Albertans again, and the other candidates were talking about we've reorganized Alberta Health Services too much. So there was a little bit of a dust-up just on the bureaucracy of Alberta Health Services, and then of course there's a dust-up on whether free membership should be allowed or not in this leadership race. But otherwise, they agreed on absolutely everything. So as somebody watching the debate, it really just came down to style. And I think if you didn't know anything about these candidates or the background or anything, you'd probably assume that Thomas Lukaszuk won because, he was the one that just seemed the most composed. He seemed the most focused. Prentice was fidgeting a bit. I think maybe Lukaszuk had a little bit of an advantage. But, this was a debate. There was only 100 people there. By my count on, people on Twitter, there was maybe 12 people watching it. So, a last-minute webcast is not the same as a TV broadcast. So kind of interesting for us nerds to be watching it, but I don't think it's going to make much of a difference in terms of the race.
Okay, now the one issue seeming to ruffle the most feathers last night is that of free memberships being handed out by the Prentice campaign. This panel touched on it briefly last week. Now Prentice isn't denying the practice, in fact, saying it will continue. Rob, Prentice said last night he had it in writing from the party before the start of the campaign. Does that set the record straight and put this issue to rest?
Well, the problem is it makes the party look bad as well as it makes his campaign look bad. I think that they're okay with this. I mean, if you want to be generous, you could maybe make a case that this is maybe going to get more people to vote, or people shouldn't have to pay to vote in all of this. But I don't know that's really going to wash. I think the other two candidates have really taken a strong stand on this. You've seen the Wild Rose leader, Danielle Smith, take a strong stand on this. I think what made it worse for the Prentice campaign was that they seemed to be sneaky about it, that they were caught on tape doing this. They initially denied that they were giving out free memberships, and then all of a sudden they said, oh, wait, yes, we are, and we think it's just fine, and we're going to keep doing it. So just the way they've handled it, just kind of the unseemly aspect of buying memberships on behalf of people. Again, I think it's a bit of a stumble for the Prentice campaign. I don't think it's going to derail them, but it just, it raises some question, raises some doubt about his competency in handling these kinds of issues.
Janet, is this a stumble, or is this enough to be Prentice's undoing?
Well, you know, he's clearly the front runner. I don't know if it's enough, but it's not really helping the PC brand any. I mean, the public's frustrated with the Alison Redford government and her cabinet and the PC government because they see this propensity of sort of stretching the rules and bending the rules. And, you know, the Auditor General was pretty eloquent when he talked about the fact that you can't make a rule for everything. You just have to sort of trust that people are going to sort of follow the spirit of the law and not look for loopholes. And it looks like, once again, here's the PCs looking for a loophole. If free memberships are okay, then why is there a $10 charge for membership? So either open it up and make it free, or, you know, respect the fact that there's a $10 thing here. But it feels like Prentice is trying to find that little loophole the way that Alison Redford often tried to find loopholes. And Albertans, it's not going to fly with Albertans.
Robert, how big of a deal is this for you?
Well, it's not a big deal at all. First of all, it's not a loophole because the rule doesn't allow, that says that you can give them away for free. So I don't view it as a loophole. Secondly, the fact that he's giving them away for free really doesn't matter to me, and it shouldn't matter to most Albertans. Thirdly, we don't know who he's giving them to. Perhaps it's an Albertan who says, I'd like to participate, but I can't afford the amount. Can I do so? And Prentice's campaign says, sure, here's a membership so you can participate in the democratic process. So I don't view that as a big deal. In fact, the New Democrat Party, the provincial New Democrats, allow for their memberships to be acquired for nothing or give what you can afford. And that method works for them. So I don't see it any different than the Conservative Party. But I think what Rob said is probably a bigger issue, is the fact that a week before Jim Prentice admitted that they were giving away free memberships, they denied it. And so that, in my mind, is a bigger issue. In fact, I remember in the 90s, there was a City Hall columnist here in Edmonton for the Edmonton Sun, Donna Marie Artuso. And she said to me when I was elected at the age of 28 in 95, she said, Robert, never lie to a journalist because we will always find out the truth. If you can't answer the question, just say, I don't know, or no comment, but never lie to us. And I just don't understand their motivation and why they would deny it when in fact it was being done. That's the part that I think Albertans should be disappointed with. The fact that they're giving them away for free, it really doesn't matter.
But enough of an issue to be there and do it?
No, I don't think so at all. I think the money, the support is still there for Jim Prentice, and I just don't think there is enough for that to change in this short period of time.
Okay, time for a quick break. Up next, mobilizing the troops. Who has the federal